Welcome to the Artella Podcast, where we work to accelerate your creative endeavors by sharing other stories, experiences, and tips they've learned along the way. Today's podcast is with Tony Drake, an accomplished hip-hop DJ who's turned to Artella to make his episodic show, The Indies. The Indies is a futuristic 2D animated action sci-fi centered around all original hip-hop music. So let's dive in. Tony, thanks for joining us today, man. I really appreciate you spending some time with us.
Man, no problem at all. Like I said earlier, man, I really appreciate you talking with me.
So you're a professional DJ, which is awesome. And I'm curious, like, how did you turn to comics and animation? I mean, obviously I see the background there of stuff, so I can tell you're interested, but I'm just kind of curious, how'd you kind of dive into that world?
I think it's just something that I've always loved. Like growing up, just watching Saturday morning cartoons, reading different comics. I was kind of a quiet kid. So when you had like comics and cartoons, it's kind of like that escape, and you can go to another world and kind of connect to these characters, and so things don't necessarily feel like as lonely.
Let's see. So it started as a comic, right? The Indies.
No, actually, it's weird. It's a little bit all over the place. But the indies actually started off from me wanting to do a mixtape. Like I just wanted to, because I've always been into music and putting people on to new artists that I think are super talented. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a mixtape. I'm gonna get all these talented artists. I'm gonna put them on, and like I'm just gonna like promote them, and they're gonna get big. But then when you really think about it, one, like everybody and their cousin has a mixtape. And then two, like no one really knows who DJ Tony Drake is. So no one's gonna pick up an album and say, like, oh, because Tony's doing it, like let me go ahead and listen to these artists. And so then I had to think to myself, like, all right, well, what's gonna make this what will make this mixtape different? And like I've always been a fan of the gorillas. And so I'm just like, you know what? Like that was really dope, but I wish there would have been like a series, and I wish I would have been able to learn more about these characters. And so I said, well, you know what, let me just I can write something and see what comes up. And so that's kind of where the indies came from.
So it's kind of evolved then over time. And it sounds like, I mean, from watching it and just watching some of the videos that you have online and on your Kickstarter campaign as well, it seems like there's a lot of people involved. So I was just kind of curious, like, how long has this idea kind of been cooking up for you?
So when I first kind of took pen to paper, that was about 6 years ago. And I think the thing about me is that when I decided to do this, like I don't have any background in animation. I don't like I can barely draw a stick figure. But it was just something that I wanted to do. And I think a lot of times like what stops people from doing something is like that fear of like not knowing. But I was just like, all right, like because I'm actually an electrical engineer. And so what I did was I just said like, all right, like I don't know how to animate or to come up with an animated show. Let me take that problem and just break it down in as small levels as I can. And then from that point, like I'm just gonna do research and ask questions and learn until like I actually know how to do all those little blocks. And so by the time you kind of do all that research and just kind of break everything down, then you're just like, okay, like I'm here 7 years later. We actually have like we have the stuff in the Kickstarter video, we have the music, we have the web comic. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where it all where it all comes from.
Yeah, I mean, so you've learned a lot. I mean, going from kind of just, you know, interested in it and kind of having this idea to now full-blown animations and character design and all that. So, I mean, you know a lot more about the process now.
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. But and I think it like I guess like when you're growing up, like your parents like tell you like, yeah, like you can put your mind to it, like you can do everything. And I think like as you get older, you kind of like forget that. Um, but I, I guess it was like I was saying earlier. It's one of those things where like I don't want to look back on life and think, well, what if I would have done this? Like, could I have done this? Like, I want to go like all the way and say like, yo, like if this person can do it, like why can't I? Um,
Oh, that's a great attitude to have. Yeah, we're kindred spirits in that way. I believe the same. I love going into something I have no idea about, and like you, just immersing myself with talented people around me. Now, now that you've been kind of on this journey for 6 years so far, and you've learned so much, like there's a lot of people like you who have these ideas who don't know how to get started. What advice would you give to yourself now if you were able to kind of go back to yourself 6 years ago? Like, what would you say?
I think I think probably the big thing, like don't be embarrassed to ask questions and don't be embarrassed not to know and what the other person is going to think. Because you gotta think like the person who you think is like the number one guru of whatever, like at one point like that person didn't know anything either. Like everyone has to start from somewhere, and you'd be surprised how much people are willing to help you if you're just honest and humble and don't try to fake the funk and make it seem like you're bigger than what you actually are. I made sure I put it out there like, hey, like I'm new to this. I don't know what I'm doing, but if you even just give me a little bit, like I'm willing to take that and run with it and go try to learn and apply it. So yeah, I guess it's just like getting over that fear. Like don't be scared.
Well, that's great, man. That's a huge one because that does inhibit a lot of people. I tell people that are looking to learn from artists that they like, say they're a visual development artist or an animator or whatever, and they see people on Twitter, it's like, hey man, just reach out to them, or on Facebook, right? Like, chances are they might reply to you, and if not, I mean, what's the worst? They just don't reply to you, you know.
Exactly.
But I mean, oftentimes people they're so humble and they're so willing to help out that reaching out, a lot of people just don't take that step even. So I always encourage that. So it's great to hear that advice from you.
And just one more thing, and you got to think like when you're scared and you're putting yourself out there, like you just alluded to, like the worst thing that's going to happen is that you're going to be in the exact same place that you are. Like it's very rare that you go like way back to the point that you can't recover. But yeah, just put yourself out there.
Series, as I understand it, it sounds like it's a series, right? The indies is something that you kind of imagine more of episodic content, and you're diving into the first one now to kind of see what the viewership and the interest is, and see maybe shopping that around to see if you could do more with it. Is that right?
Yeah. So I went out and I wrote out the whole first season. Like I wanted to show investors and executives that it was more than just an idea. Like it was actually something tangible, something that was there. So the full goal is to make a whole series. But this animated short that I'm doing the Kickstarter for, one that's to prove that like we actually know what we're doing. To also prove that yes, people want to see new characters and see characters like these and hear stories like these. So that's what I want to do because we've been blessed that we've been able to talk to like different executives and kind of put it out there. Um, but like there's always that question like, all right, well, like how many fans do you have? Like how many people are watching this? So to me, I was like, all right, well, we can do this Kickstarter and we can get people to back it and to fund it and spend real money on it. Then that shows that like yes, like people want to see this. Um, because the whole reason that I did this was because I wasn't seeing any shows that talk to me, that talk to the hip hop community, which is mind-boggling to me because like you have the Boondocks, you have Afro Samurai, you have Samurai Champloo, that are huge. Like I've never met a person that's just like, nah, like I don't like any of those. Um, so for there not to be a cartoon that's in that vein, it's kind of just crazy to me.
Yeah, that's something that you said on the video that really stuck out to me. That you're not seeing the types of cartoons that you wanted to see, and you just said it right there,
Right.
that hit me so hard. Actually, that's something that motivates me beyond belief, and why I was kind of drawn to your project right away. I wanted to talk to you more and bring your story to more of our listeners as well. It's just because I agree, like it's time to see different stuff. I always say like animation is more than fluffy bunnies and bears. It's nice
Right.
to see stuff, and I'm just kind of curious because some of the content is more gritty in nature and a little more adult. So that's risky, and I love that. Can you tell me what inspires you to kind of want to take that risk?
Because like I said, it's really trying to think. Like when I came up with it, I was really just thinking about like me and my friends, and like what would we enjoy. And I feel as though like that's the stuff like even when we're younger and probably weren't supposed to be watching that stuff. Like that's what we wanted. And there's just a lot of themes that I want to explore that I feel as if though they're pretty heavy to digest, like just on the surface, like have a conversation with them. So I feel as if though doing that through art and doing that through animation allows the conversation to be a little bit easier, and you don't have to relate it to something that's in real life. You can kind of lay it all on these imaginative characters, so that you can actually have conversations with people, and I guess maybe not be as invested in it, but to be able to say like, well, like Slick was doing this, and this is this, and this is kind of like this. So just kind of have like a conversation starter.
Well, that's great. That brings me to kind of the next area, which is story and like your process. Like first, I'm curious about 2D animation. Like why did you choose 2D animation over 3D animation or any other forms of the medium? Just kind of curious about that first.
Like I wish I could give you like some complex and like super artistic reason, but it's really like I love 2D animation. I think there's something dope about being able to go frame by frame, and it's just one picture, but somehow you can manipulate them and they seem as if though they move, and that they're alive. So there's just I don't know. There's just something about it that I love, um, and like because I'm not like classically trained in this. Like I always just have to like go off of like just feels and like the vibes that I'm getting, and there's just something special about 2D that like gives me a feeling, and when I see it, I'm just kind of like yo, like this is it. So that's like I said, because I'm not classically trained, I just have to go off of instinct and what's in my gut. And my gut is just saying go that way.
No, I agree. I think 2D has such a awesome quality to it, and it looks really great in the style too. The pieces that I've seen from the indies that you've done, it's like, yeah, that's super tight, man. The guy with the dreads that like turn into like knives or whatever, and it like, and that I'm like, dude, I don't even know if you could do that in the computer. So like, but it just works so well, and I was just totally blown away. So when you're developing your ideas, like your stories, like what's your process? Like not just story, but do you sit down with a team of people and do you write it out? I'd love to just go through all the way to kind of picking a piece and then going into animation and just talking us through that process would be amazing.
Right. And once again, like I wish I could say there's like this like super technical thing, but is really it's probably not the right way to do it, but like I literally just throw stuff like up against the wall. Like I just kind of like start writing, and if I get to a certain point, then I just stop and kind of jump on to the next thing, and just kind of bit by bit by bit, which kind of just gets the ball rolling. And then I kind of put it to a side for a little bit, and then come back and look at what I wrote, kind of what actually like sticks and had substance there, and then kind of build off of that. A lot of it is just kind of things that like I see in my head, um, and I might not have the beginning to something, but I'm just like, okay, like this is a dope scene. Like I want to get to this point. And I guess it's like the engineer in me that says like, all right, like if I'm trying to get here, like what things do I need to develop along the way, that allow me to actually get to that point? Like what are the, based on all the rules that I set, and I guess it's kind of like mathematical equations, like based on all that, like how do I get to here, and like what makes sense, and um, at the same time trying to make sure that these characters that I have, that I'm still building on that, because I think important thing um, the most important thing in this that I want to come across is people being able to connect to these characters, and having them be deep, and not just like the stereotypical flat characters that sometimes you see on television.
What I love that process. I mean, it's neat. I mean, it's just basically saying like these are the events that you want to have happen in your story, and then reverse engineering how you get there.
Right.
That's actually really insightful. I never thought about it that way, and I really I'm inspired by that myself. I'm already thinking like, ooh, that's such a great way to approach story, man. That's cool. And
Uh,
so I'm curious, do you use like a notebook or Google Docs or something like that to write? And then on top of that, when you kind of don't have those pieces, do you have a team or people that you bounce ideas off of to fill in those gaps, or is it all you all the time?
when I'm writing, it's all me all the time. I think I think the thing, because for me, like I want to be able to stay true to the characters, and like I've been working on this for so long that like I do know what I where I want them to go. And I guess the like the other thing too is that like I'm from El Paso, Texas, and like I live out in Baltimore, so like I'm the only one that I know that actually does stuff like this. Like all my friends, family, people that I know, like they're working regular 9 to 5 jobs, or like they're doing music. It's just one of those things where I have to be confident in myself, and just say like, all right, well, I'm just going to get this. I'm just going to get this done. But what I've been using, I usually use what you call it, like Google Docs. Like I actually have. It's weird. Most of the writing that I do is it's either in my notebook, or like I text myself stuff. Like I just write. Usually, like a lot of the writing, um, like I just kind of sit outside and just like sit on my phone, and for some reason, like I just like to text and write stuff down that way. And then usually I come back, and kind of like the same thing, take bits and pieces, and then put them into usually it's just a Word document, and go from there.
Oh, that's cool. Now, do you have it like who's the team on the indies? Because there's a lot of people in the video and stuff. So I'm
There's a
I'm sure there's people that you're like, this is my right hand guy right here, and I just want to make sure to kind of call out like I know it's a lot of you because it's
Yeah,
6 years. It's hard to have somebody be on a journey that long, with you the
right,
entire time.
right,
But yeah, I'm just kind
exactly.
of curious a little bit if you could tell us who's a part of your team.
Yeah, yeah, like I'm glad you said that, because I don't want to make it sound like I'm the one that's doing everything all by myself. Like there's definitely a ton of people that have helped. So I have artist named Brian Art. He's from Baltimore. He's actually one of the first guys that I got with, so that I could describe to them what the characters actually look like. And so we actually flew from Baltimore back to El Paso, Texas, to actually develop the look of the characters. And we worked with another group of people that I know called Common Peoples. They do a lot of stuff in fashion and graphic design, and so I had them actually help out with like the costumes that the characters were wearing, and help to develop that. And so I think we were out there for like about a week to kind of like really fine tune everything and get that situated so that we could put that into our character Bible. I also had a an artist, Jonathan Powell. He's the one that did the concept art. So like the pictures that you see of New Orleans, New York, the tour bus that they go on. He wound up he did that, and then we kind of went from there into the animation, and we worked with an artist named Sylvan, and just kind of went back and forth on that, and that was a really dope. That was just a really dope process for me to kind of try to figure out different ways to express what was in my head. Um, to like a bunch of different people because everyone digests information differently. And so what I said to Brand Art, like I couldn't say to Jonathan. Like I had to describe it a different way or say it a different way. So it was cool to kind of figure out like how do you actually how do you do that. And then shoot, like when you jump to the music side, like it's like a whole it's crazy. Because we recorded it at House Studios DC, and they actually won a Grammy for working with Kendrick Lamar on the Pimp a Butterfly. So I got with them, and there's Udo Gray who owns the studio. There's Jay Vicious who's the engineer, Reggie Volume who's one of the producers, Panama who's one of the writers on it. We have Little Ari, who's an amazing producer. We had horns come in, we had violinists come in, we had piano players come in, and then you throw all the rappers that are that are on top of that, and we have at least three rappers on every song. So it's a lot of people. It was a lot of people. I'm just really happy and blessed that they were able to come in and wanted to be a part of it and actually believed in what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, I can just hearing that. I'm have no question around how you've stayed inspired for the last 6 years doing this. I mean, that's inspiring just to hear. It hasn't just been you writing on your phone, texting yourself. Like you've kind of, despite all odds and maybe not a ton of funding, right? Like you've kind of gone out and you said, I'm going to tap into these people. I'm going to ask these places, hey, this is what we're doing, and tell your story and get them inspired and then try to get them involved. And look what you've done. You've amassed this like incredible pool of people that are willing to contribute and help this independent project that they believe in as well. So kudos to the leadership on that, man.
I appreciate it, and that really was one of those things where like when I came to them, I was just like, "Yo, I got this idea. Like I want to get it on television. This is what I want to do." And so based off of what I said, they were just like, "All right, yeah, like I'll do it." So like I'm big on like people give like if people give their word. If I gave them my word that I'm going to do something and they're giving me their time, then I have to do it. Because time is like the most valuable thing that we have. You can never get time back. And so I don't want to waste time. And I want them to be able to look at me and say, hey, when Tony says that he's going to do something, like he does it. And that's how I always want to carry myself. So there was literally no option for me to stop. I have to get this on TV because that's what I've told all these people.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Now, speaking of that, how long is the project? I see that you want to have it wrapped by July 2018, and I'm curious about that. Like, if there's a specific reason for that, and just kind of curious, like, how long is the project right now? Like, what are you seeing it the length of it as?
So we want to do a short. It's going to be a action sequence. So we're thinking probably between like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. That's what we're looking for. want to keep it relatively short, so it's not one of those things that just kind of lingers on. I do project management as my full time job, and that's one of the big things. Like not being able to actually finish and say like, hey, like we gotten to this point, like we're actually done. It's crazy that you would think like, well, if I have an infinite amount of time, then I'll be able to do this amazing thing. Whereas actually, when you have shorter windows of time, like your energy is more concentrated, you're able to get stuff done. And so that's why I was just like, all right, like I feel as though we should be able to get this done by July. Like I'm pretty confident if we're doing a minute and a half, 2 minutes, this should be all the time that we need. It might be a little bit tight, but based off based off the what we have so far and people being motivated, I think we'll be able to do that. We
Yeah.
should be able to put it out.
Yeah, that's so insightful, man. The It's cool that you do your project management, in in another life. And it's so true what you said. I will always I'll make a commitment and I'll put it on the calendar like a month out, and then it's literally like 2 or 3 days before it's actually due that I look at it and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta actually
Right,
start on
right,
it. So like it doesn't really matter where you put the thing. It's
exactly.
just that you put the thing down there and then you commit to it. So I think that's a key point for people to take away, and I love that. And now with your experience as well, having done animation, having done what you've done to date, you know what it takes. So that's cool. It's not just pie in the sky. Like it's based on real experience, which I love.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, now I want to shift over a little bit to the Kickstarter campaign, which you guys are actively running. You have about 7 days left on it, and you're far along. Like you're about $30,000 to a $50,000 goal, which is awesome. That's super huge, and we want to help you guys get to the finish line. So that's kind of also why we're doing this, to make sure that we can share this out with our peeps as well. And one of the things is we also at Artella, we have a bunch of independent creators. I mean, you're on there as well, which is super
Yeah,
awesome. And there's a lot of people that want to know more about running a crowdfunding campaign and all that goes into it. We talked about it briefly a little bit before we hit record on this. I just kind of want to take our listeners down that path. So, can you just tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter campaign, like kind of what has gone into it for you?
yeah, no, yeah, no problem. So the Kickstarter started on August 28th, I want to say. August 28th. It was when it started. But I actually started planning the Kickstarter back in December. Like there is a ton of like groundwork that you have to do. Um, because one of the things is that you want to make sure that you're setting the exact amount that you need. Um, because if you go any higher, that just makes it that much harder and more difficult. So like going out and doing the groundwork to figure one, how much it's actually going to take, and then two, to get like some type of feel on the response that you're going to get. It's kind of weird, like months before a Kickstarter, asking people like, hey, if I do this, like, are you going to donate? But going into it, like I already knew, I had a rough idea of what I was going to be able to get just from my inner circle. So that allowed me to say like, all right, if I can get this amount, then I'm going to need to do what do I need to do to be able to get the rest of it. And so it's the same thing. I can focus my energy on that one piece, and then just doing the groundwork, um, for like all the different press, because if you launch the Kickstarter and you want to get press, by the time you actually get a response, the Kickstarter is going to be over. There's a ton of people that are doing the same thing that you're doing, and there's a ton of news that's out. So reaching out to people well beforehand and saying like, hey, like this is what I'm going to do, getting that the press release out, getting people to kind of back you. That's It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work, and it's basically like another full time job. because like I said, I work a regular 9 to 5, so I'm waking up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning before I go to work, and like returning emails and like following up on people, and then I go and I work a 9, 10 hour day, and then I'm coming back and just working as soon as I get home to same thing, returning emails, reaching out to people, like bugging people like, hey, did you donate? Did you donate? Like, what, can you tweet this link out? Um, so yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, you've done an incredible job, man. I encourage people to just take a look at some of the other interviews and podcasts, and there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube as well. It's great to see all the effort that you've put in, and I just want people to understand that are listening to this, that what you just said there spells it out, man. I mean, it's another full-time job.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's not just push publish and hope people are going to give you a bunch of money, right? Like,
Yeah. No, it is not that. Yeah, it is not that. And I guess the other thing that you have to do is you have to try to figure out, because I feel as though you can share the link and people are just like, oh, like that's really cool. Like I like that. But then to get them to actually click and actually donate something, like figuring that piece out, that's tough. And that's a lot of hard work to try to get that conversion.
hmm Now it sounds like it sounds like you're doing all of it. Do you have a crowdfunding manager, somebody who's helping you out, or are you running the whole crowdfunding campaign on your own?
So it's kind of the same thing as just with the indies as a whole. I was able to get people that say like, hey, like I can't help you out full time, but like I can reach out to these people over here, or I can help you with this press release, and I'll do the press release, but like I'm going to need you to send it out to people. So it's really a community effort. You got a lot of different people that do different things, and then it's just kind of on me to kind of make sure that there's still like a consistency there and that stuff is getting pushed out. um, Looking back at it, it probably would have been good to get a crowdfunding manager. But
Yeah, hindsight's 2020, but I mean, you've done great, and
I've,
yeah. Now what tips would you give to people that are gonna start their own crowdfunding campaigns? Like, what would you say to them?
um I would say, definitely say, start early. Start your outreach really really early. um look at a lot of different campaigns that have been both successful and unsuccessful. I think I spent a lot of time looking at campaigns that actually didn't get funded, and trying to break that down and say like, all right, what happened here, so that you don't make those mistakes. Um, the the other thing is just trying to be organized. Trying to I guess having because there were different goals that I wanted to meet throughout the campaign, and so I actually planned out like what I wanted to say and what I wanted to happen once I met those goals, so that whenever they came, I was already prepared and just kind of had to hit go. What you don't want to do is like having to constantly think like, well, what am I going to write on this update? Like, what should I post to Twitter here? Because your time is already taken up like in a whole bunch of other places. The less that you have to think, the better. Um, so I would definitely say do that, and also make sure that you don't make sure that you're not depending just on one person. Kind of have a plan B and a plan C, because sometimes life just comes up, and a particular organization or person may not be able to do what they said that they were going to do. And if that was your ace in the hole, then and they go away, then you're kind of stuck. Like, make sure that you have backup plans. That's actually helped out a lot. Helped out a lot here.
Like, what's the most like unexpected thing that's happened, positive or negative, I guess, on the campaign that you kind of weren't expecting that happened? Is there anything like that kind of happened for you, like somebody who tweeted your thing that you were like, "Whoa, I didn't expect that to happen," or?
Right. It was actually one of my favorite record labels, Cinematic Music Group. They actually retweeted it, and I had no idea that was going to happen. So to have them, which I mean probably isn't a big deal to anyone else,
No,
but
that's awesome,
like
man. That's cool.
to me, like I love the music they put out. Like I love the fact that they were able to pick up on a lot of artists, like a lot of new artists, and kind of propel them forward. And I always felt as if though like they were ahead of the game and like picking out talented people. So for them to kind of pick me out and say like, hey, like this guy is talented, like you guys should check it out. That was pretty dope.
Oh,
That
that's
that
awesome, man.
yeah.
Yeah, and I bet that's inspiration to keep going too, especially in
Oh
those
yeah.
hard times. You're like, oh, and then you get that, and you're like, no, I gotta keep going.
Right. Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
let me ask you, because Kickstarter is kind of the all or nothing, right? It's the all or nothing campaign platform. So I'm just kind of curious, like, why did you choose Kickstarter over Indiegogo or some of the other ones? Did you have a real reason around that? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So when I was looking at it, um, like everything that I've done with the indies, like I wanted it to be at the same level or better of everything that like I'm seeing on TV. Because I feel as if though like me kind of coming from the outside, like I have to do better. Like I don't have any other previous movies or cartoons to point to. So when I said like, all right, if I'm going to do the short, like it has to be like amazing. Like it has to be super high quality. And so, like, it was just like, all right, like I feel as though if I raise this $50,000, like that will allow me to do it. And I really examined the budget. Like I couldn't get it any lower. Actually, it started off like way higher, and like 50,000 was the bare minimum that I thought I could do it at. And so I'm just like, all right, if I do Indiegogo, like if I get $30,000, I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do. And then I put at jeopardy not being able to accomplish my goal. And so I was just like, all right, it's 50 or nothing. Like I'm doing it the right way. Like I'm not cutting any corners. It's going to be high quality. So if Indiegogo gives me like half of it, it's not worth it. Like I feel as though I would let people down, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So there's just no other choice other than to get the 50,000.
Yeah. Well, that's bold, man, and honorable as well. You know, it's cool that you're being honest. You're a project manager. You know what it's gonna take, and it's great that you're doing this so you can pay the people, to help
Yeah,
get it over the line. I mean, it's all the right stuff. So
yeah,
I'm excited. I want to be a part of this. We want to help bring more people to this project and help them kind of get to your goal, because I want to see this thing done. I want to see more awesome content like the indies out in the world. So I was just gonna ask you, like, how can people get involved?
yeah. So if they go to bluegeekmusic.com, we have the countdown ticker to the last day. But there's also a Kickstarter link there. The other thing that they could do is they could go to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, go to Blue Geek Music or DJ Tony Drake. They'll see all the links and content there. Just share those. I feel as if though the more it gets out there, the more people see it. That's going to allow us to get it out there, because I really do feel that when people see this, they'll be able to connect to it. When I'm at these different comic conventions, everyone gets mad excited about like seeing all the music and seeing the behind the scenes of us in the studio. I'm just like, oh man, like this is great. And then it's like, oh, this is in hip hop, and they love the story. It's crazy to me that they're connecting to the characters that they've really only seen just a little bit of. So I feel as if though people share it, like the money will kind of take care of itself. It just needs to get out there. So yeah, if people can share that, and also, like we have a free web comic that's out, that's surprisingly doing, actually pretty well. It wasn't supposed to be like the main thing; it was just kind of supposed to promote the Kickstarter. But people have been like digging that, and it's been generating interest in the Kickstarter. And so that's why I truly believe like everything will just take care of itself, because like the characters uh came from a real place, from a pure place. And even if you're not in the hip hop, like I feel as though you can still connect to the stories. Like I was telling people, um like the like all the themes are like human themes that everyone can relate to. Like I'm just telling the story through the language of hip hop, but everyone everyone can relate to it. So yeah, people can just share that, and share the links.
Yeah, and share the love, man. I love it. So we'll post the links below for people as well, so they can grab at them. And I'm gonna do my best to get this turned around as quick as possible, so we can get this out to people and help make an impact on the campaign. Now, Tony, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your story, and we're really super excited to see this happen, man. We're gonna be here with you after the campaign as well, to help make sure then when all that new hard work starts, that you can go and make that be successful as well. So thanks again for joining us, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely, man. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you later, man.
All right.